I asked over 1,500 viewers where you wanted the new Avatar attraction to go inside of Disney California Adventure. Not where you think it will go, but where you want it to go. The results are in, and they may surprise you. Today we'll dive into the locations you voted on, from the least popular to the one that got the majority of the votes. Plus, there are some really interesting opinions about whether this should even come to DCA at all. Brickey here. Let's get started. So it does not surprise me at all that your least favorite pick, the one you hated the most and hated the most by a huge margin, is putting Avatar where Grizzly River Run sits, inside of Grizzly Peak. You hated this idea, and I agree with you. This option was the least popular, with only 5% of you supporting this idea. Why so low? Well, the complexities around this location might have something or everything to do with it. The entire Grizzly Peak footprint, including Soaring, Grizzly River Run, the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail, is about 350,000 square feet. Grizzly River Run alone is 200,000 square feet. So technically, that's enough space to fit the main show building for Avatar, which we believe will be similar in scale to Pirates of the Caribbean, Battle for the Sunken Treasure ride at Shanghai Disneyland. That ride is housed in an approximately 100,000 square foot building, but it's a little hard to judge. So I believe it could be a little bit bigger. But here's where things get tricky, and get tricky quickly. Squeezing in the landscaping, walkways, and the iconic Avatar courtyard would likely fall short of the experience shown in the concept artwork. Once again, this artwork is very ambitious for inside of DCA. And let's not forget, placing such a massive show building smack in the middle of the park is almost unheard of. Disney's design philosophy usually involves hiding these structures to maintain the magic, or how the Haunted Mansion's vast attraction is hidden behind its facade. Grizzly Peak would require some next level Disney magic to pull off that kind of concealing, not to mention figuring out surface vehicle access for a highly guest-facing area. Then there's the theme clash to consider. Right now, Grizzly Peak transitions beautifully the Grand Californian Hotel, Disneyland's premier luxury resort. Adding an Avatar land here would break the flow and potentially disrupt the park's cohesive design. But there's even a bigger issue at play. If the Avatar area takes over Grizzly River Rapids or Soarin', we're not actually expanding the park. We're just replacing one or two existing attractions. Sure, it might increase the overall ride capacity per hour, but we aren't adding to the park's total ride count. And for those of us who want more rides, just not newer ones, this would be a major letdown. Let's break down this concept artwork and how it might actually work into Grizzly Peak. In the lower left, you see that rock work. A lot of people believe this is the actual Grizzly Peak, but that would place the ride basically bunting up to the edge of San Francisco, which I don't see that happening at all. So I'm going to turn the concept artwork more in this direction, placing that rock work on the edge of the land to block out where I hope Soarin' will remain. And we see this little bubble structure that would be blocking out more views, and I believe that the show building would reside around where the peak is today. The overall shape of this courtyard fits the shape of Grizzly Peak. However, these tunnels in the bottom right, which align perfectly with Hollywood Land, this time do bring in San Francisco Street, the main trail that would take you around the Avatar attraction. There is a way to make this fit here, and the artwork does seem ambiguous enough that Disney's not quite sure where it's going. So they're trying to play every option on the table while also getting fans pumped about Avatar coming to DCA. But I don't think a lot of you are pumped, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to that in a minute. And one thing that's been brought up that a lot of you are kind of pumped on or have a theory is you've recently learned that this body of water right here is also attached to the body of water over at the old Pacific Wharf, now known as San Francisco. The two bodies of water are connected, so when they need to drain one, they put all the water over to one side so they can work on one of these two pools and then release the water back over. That is a great design effect that we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time. However, I don't think water alone is enough of a savings or an inspiration to make this 100% the spot where Avatar is going to go. I know a lot of people see this water connection as a big indication, but the peanuts that they would save on the water, I don't know if that plays into everything else that this would cost, both with construction and emotionally to the park. But let's talk about the Avatar IP itself. It's a movie franchise that has broken box office records, yet it doesn't have the die-hard fan base that Star Wars or Marvel enjoys. So is it really worth betting so heavily on a franchise that might not fit or make fans happy? That's a tension point we're definitely going to get to as we explore this further. One of the things that's impressive about this area is how low the attraction itself sits. When you do the walkways and you look over the various different viewpoints, it sits pretty low. So there is a deep area here to put something in. And as well, the front area does have a generous amount of space to do the exploration that a Pandora inside of DCA would need. So it's not exactly impossible, and I do see why this has been an idea that's been floated around, but you guys don't like that float. Now let's see what you had to say about Grizzly Peak. Many of you were strongly opposed to this location, saying that replacing Grizzly Peak would be, quote, unforgivable. And many of you are worried that an Avatar land here could disrupt the beautiful natural theming of this area. One commenter said, I really don't want to lose Soarin' and Grizzly. It's clear after both your vote and your comments, Grizzly Peak is a beloved part of DCA, and changing it for Avatar is not a popular choice. And by the way, the poll's now up to 2,000 of you, so thank you so much for voting. I can't believe I can get that many of you to vote and to comment. I sincerely appreciate it. And thank you for subscribing to Hey Brickey and going on these wild design journeys with me. I love doing this, and I love that you decide to show up. What a bad idea it would be to lose this part of the park. I know the ride has no IP, sells no merchandise, and you know what? Who cares? This is such a magical place of DCA, the way that it feels during the holidays, and the escapism that it really makes you feel like you've just traveled hundreds of miles up the California coast to a place that feels nothing like Southern California. That's the magic trick that I want from Disney, not necessarily to go to another planet. Next we have Hollywoodland, which gathered 17% of your votes. Still not popular. There wasn't a lot of love for this one either, but it does have some potential if it's done right. Because if Disney decides to use the current bus loading zone, Hollywoodland could offer up to 300,000 square feet. That's nearly as large as Disneyland's entire Fantasyland. When you put Small World in there, that's big. But if the bus zone isn't utilized, we're left with around 175,000 square feet, making it feel a bit tight. For comparison, Indiana Jones Adventure Attraction occupies around 110,000 square feet. So we'd have enough room for the ride itself, but not necessarily enough room for the immersive environment Avatar deserves. So if we explore the concept artwork, you'll see some rock work in the left side of your screen, as well as sort of a bubbly dome over on the top left of your screen. If it were to be built here, both of those buildings would indicate that that is blocking off the western side of DCA. And then in the front, you see a little bit of a building. If they go all in, that would probably indicate the street that's out front. Over to the right, you see 3 different tunnels. Those 3 different tunnels pretty much perfectly aligned with the intersection that would take you to where the restrooms currently are, bring you off of Sunset Boulevard, bring you into Hollywood. Like that little 3-tunnel system aligns really well with the eastern end of Hollywoodland. But the million-dollar question is, where does the monorail go and how much of this space are they going to use? If they don't take out the buses, I see no way of this being truly successful. But let's just pretend for a moment that they do take out the buses, and let's move everything we talked about back just a little bit further. So that building in the bottom of the screen, that's now where the monorail runs. The tunnels that you see over on the right, that's kind of doing everything it was doing. And then that would mean that everything back here coming off the street would be forest, it would be woods, it would be a park-like environment. So you'd go through an urban scape, You'd come through the woods, you go through a park, and eventually, once you pass where the monorail's currently at, as I predicted in other videos, that would take you into the Avatar land. So essentially, everything here would be a big, giant park, and you'd be able to cruise through that park, work your way underneath the structure in the bottom of your concept artwork, and Avatar wouldn't even begin till you got on the other side of the monorail. This would be a pretty big park, but it would make a beautiful transition. But on the flip side, trying to imagine that you just come straight off the street and what you see at the bottom of your screen is the edge of Hollywood Boulevard, and then you just come straight into it. And that would be a little bit jarring, but way cheaper, keeping it smaller and requiring a lot less infrastructure. So looking at the concept artwork and not taking out the bus area, it still would align somewhat well with the layout of Hollywoodland. The large building where the attraction would have to sit right where Monsters, Inc. sits today. And the surrounding courtyard could also be massaged to fit in this existing area. But it wouldn't be as expansive as the artwork suggests. That means some of those lush, immersive pathways would have to get scaled back. But let's talk about logistics. Disney would have to build an eastern parking garage and reroute the bus drop-off to free up this space. Plus, rerouting the monorail would be a significant, costly endeavor. To give you some context, the last major infrastructure change for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland cost around $1 billion. And a large portion of that $1 billion went into behind-the-scenes infrastructure work. So, would Disney invest that kind of time and money into Avatar? And they would have to do it right. And here's the other risk. If the bus loading zone isn't incorporated, this area would feel way too tight and couldn't live up to the ambitious concept artwork. So maybe it's no surprise this option didn't win over more support from viewers of Hey Brickey. And as of your comments, many of you thought Hollywoodland is not the ideal spot. One commenter suggested Zootopia would fit better here. I made a video about that and how the monorail integrates with Zootopia sitting in this spot. And another interesting point was about how preserving part of Hollywood's theme. One viewer said, keep Hollywood Boulevard leading up to the Hyperion Theater. Replace the archways with entrances to Avatar Land. Clearly, some of you have creative ideas on how this location could work, but there's still a lot of hesitation from the community. Now, out of everything that we've talked about in today's video based on the poll, here's an interesting twist that Disney might want to listen to. A solid 20% of you said that you don't want an Avatar attraction to come to DCA at all. And I get it. DCA has its own identity that it's been finding over the last couple of years. And many of you really do enjoy how it celebrates the diversity of California's rich landscape and experiences. An otherworldly land like Avatar is going to just feel out of place in here if they keep the current theme. But keeping it fair, I'm going to push back a little bit on Disney's behalf, even though I do agree with you. That being said, Avatar has already proven its value in theme parks. Pandora at Animal Kingdom was a gamble that paid off massively, attracting huge crowds and becoming one of the park's most popular areas. The success has made Disney confident about extending the Avatar IP into other parks. And right now I'm standing here and there's not a guest around. So what's that say about this current location? But here's the debate. Would bringing Avatar to DCA add a unique edge to the park, or would it disrupt the carefully curated storytelling that sets DCA apart from other Disney theme parks? It's a diverse topic and one that clearly resonates with many of you. And several of you were vocal about not wanting Avatar at DCA at all. One viewer bluntly stated, "Who the hell wants an Avatar land?" And another said, "I honestly just don't like the idea of having an alien planet in the same park with the general theme of California." And some of you argued that Avatar would fit better in a new park or Disneyland's expansion, suggesting it might be too much of a thematic stretch for DCA. One thing that you made crystal clear, that Avatar inside the current footprint of DCA is not what you are interested in. So now let's go to your overwhelmingly #1 vote on where most people that watch Hey Brickey want to see Avatar go. And friends, it wasn't even close. By a country mile or an alien mile, Avatar is not something that viewers of this channel want to see inside of the current footprint of DCA. And I think an even bigger gamble that Disney has going, if they do rip out the Hollywood Backlot and place it there, which seems to be the general consensus of what will happen and not what we want to happen, food for thought, what does it look like when the Monsters, Inc. land opens up in Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando? And we've ripped out Monsters, Inc. from Hollywood Studios here at Disneyland. Could there be a big fan pushback that people are going to be like, what? We could have had a full Monsters land with 2 attractions, the suspended roller coaster attraction, as well as the current Monsters, Inc. ride. I think that will upset a lot of fans when they see what we could have had, what we were close to having, and instead what they got. Friends, hopefully in today's video, you've been enjoying the beautiful Avatar B-roll that I was able to shoot on my last trip out to Disney's Animal Kingdom. Those trips and everything that I do for the channel, sharing my love of Disney with the Disney community, is all made possible by folks that shop below at the Hey Brickey store. Get your beautiful Vibes Over Rides Brickey blouse, and coming soon, the 1955 undefeated world champs baseball cap. I appreciate everybody who supports this channel by grabbing something from the shop or just simply subscribing to Hey Brickey. Thank you so much for allowing me to put so much time into this thing that we all love. Now back to today's video. Thank you as always for your support. You make it all possible. And now the clear winner of our poll, the Simba parking lot, which captured a whopping 59% of your votes. And it's easy to see why this spot got so many votes. Let's break it down. The Simba lot offers Disney a potential 1 million square feet to work with. That's nearly a quarter of the entire Disneyland park. This location would allow Disney to start with a blank canvas, something that they excel at. Think Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where they transformed backstage areas into an immersive new world. Or contrast that with Avengers Campus, which was squeezed into the awkward layout of the former Bugs Land. The Simba lot avoids those pitfalls entirely. However, here's where reality sets in. Using this lot would require a significant amount of infrastructure work. Disney would need to build a new parking garage on the east side of the resort and create either a tunnel or bridge over Disneyland Drive. Remember, the Mickey and Friends parking structure took about 3 years to go from concept to completion. Projects like this, they do not happen overnight, but they're worth it when they're done right. So here's the big question. Could this be the first major project for Disneyland Forward? And if Disney decides to use this space for Avatar, how much of that 1 million square feet are they willing to dedicate to one land? This decision could shape the future of DCA and DCA's expansions. Your comments overwhelmingly supported this location. One viewer said Simba parking lot would have a lot of space for Avatar, put Zootopia in the Hollywood Backlot. Another added, a project this ambitious should start with a blank canvas, the Simba lot. It seems that most of you believe this location offers the best potential for the future expansions and the creative freedom to make an Avatar land truly shine inside of the Disneyland Resort. If we put Disneyland Forward as an option at the top of our list, which location makes the most sense right now? From a ride perspective, the Simba parking lot offers the creative freedom, the space, and the potential to make a truly immersive world for Avatar. But each option comes with its own set of challenges and trade-offs. When we think about Disney having 1 million square feet here, roughly, to play with, how much of that would you personally give to Avatar? Like 15%, 150,000? Would you go up to 20%, 25%, 30%? I mean, if you did a 300,000 square foot Avatar land, it would be huge, it would be sick, but then you would only have 70% left for all the different pathways, all the different shops, the different park infrastructure. So Avatar could eat up a sizable amount of the future of DCA. How much would you give? Just drop your percentage in the comment section. I'd love to know what percentage of land you would be willing to give Avatar. And I can't wait to see all the 0%. And ultimately, this attraction is as much about the surrounding neighborhood or landscaping as it is the ride itself. The Symbol Lot gives Disney the room to build that magical, awe-inspiring courtyard that makes guests feel like they've truly stepped onto another planet. I don't always ride the Avatar attractions in Animal Kingdom, but I always visit the land just to see it. Watch this video to see how my viewers picked the perfect location for Coco coming to DCA. Thank you for watching, and thank you for voting. Democracy is alive at Hey Brickey.